FireRed and LeafGreen are in the midst of a glitch revolution, and it's all because of a completely useless item. Mail. Let me explain. Almost exactly 1 year ago, Pomeg posted this video of a speedrun that involves using mail to corrupt the in-game trade Mr. Mime and enable arbitrary code execution. This is the holy grail of glitches. It lets you write custom code into the box names and force the game to do things like warp to the event-exclusive Birth Island and Naval Rock, or for speedrunning purposes, directly to the Hall of Fame. I first heard about it from this excellent video by PulseFX earlier this year, and since then, I've been utterly obsessed with glitches in FireRed and LeafGreen. But I've already made 2 videos about how you can set up and use arbitrary code execution for all kinds of cool stuff. What on earth could be left that's so fascinating that I felt compelled to make a video as long as a feature-length film? The mail glitch itself. You've probably heard of the famous Pomeg glitch, also known as glitzer popping, which lets you do crazy things like create hatchable Jirachi and Deoxys eggs. You may have even seen this video from me using glitches in Emerald alongside RNG manipulation to create a 100% legal, shiny, competitive extreme speed Zigzagoon. But comparing the mail glitch to Pomeg corruption is like comparing algebra to calculus, the printing press to the internet, Newtonian gravity to Einstein's relativity, steam engines to jet engines, Playboy to porn. What did he say? This is without a doubt the most fun I've ever had with a Pokemon glitch, and that's saying a lot because I was literally playing with Missingno in Pokemon Red when I was 10 years old. It combines nearly everything I've learned about glitches and RNG manipulation in the last 5 years into one supremely powerful package. I built this monstrosity of a spreadsheet for the sole purpose of using the mail glitch to bypass breeding, Eevee training, grinding for items, hunting for Pokemon with specific natures and good stats, all the frustrating components of building a competitive team. I'm going to use it to create this now famous rank 1 ADV singles team used by none other than Jimothy Cool, and teach you everything you need to know to use it for yourself. So I hope you'll come along with me on this epic journey, starting from So, there are 3 critical pieces to activating the mail glitch in FireRed and LeafGreen. The first critical piece is you need to have a Pokemon holding a berry that it can consume. I'm using my shiny Sceptile here, who knows Substitute, so I can just use Substitute first turn of the battle, and then after that, it will consume the berry. The second piece is a Pokemon with Knockoff. You need a Pokemon that has Knockoff. I'm using Hariyama here, but the one that you would use in a fresh save file is the Trade Farfetch'd, because it learns Knockoff at level 22. And then the third thing you need is a Pokemon with Recycle. Normally, from a fresh save file, you would use the trade Mr. Mime, who learns Recycle at level 33, but I have this nice shiny Porygon here who knows Recycle, so just to show off that you don't need to use the trade Pokemon, I'm going to show that it can be done with Porygon as well. And so that is everything we need. We need to have them in this order, right? We need to have our knockoff Pokemon and our berry Pokemon in the lead, and then our recycle Pokemon is in the back. And we're also going to give our recycling Pokemon a piece of mail. Retro mail can be bought in the department store. We're going to give them a piece of mail, and we're just going to put one word in here, Abra. That's totally fine. It's just the fastest one to click. So that's everything we need. And then we also need a double battle, and I've set up a Versus Seeker rematch with these 2 right here because I'm at the end game in this save file, right? This isn't a fresh save. And then we just initiate the battle. I recommend saving right before you do this battle, just in case you mess it up. But it's really not that hard. So the battle begins. And the first step, like I said, is to have your Pokemon holding the berry consume it. So I'm going to use Substitute, and then I'm just going to Strength into one of their Pokemon and take it out just to make the battle a little easier. All right. So Sceptile has consumed the Citrus Berry, which is the first critical step. Now we're going to switch out the Pokemon who consumed the berry for our Pokemon holding mail that has Recycle. So we're going to hit Shift. And then we're going to use Knockoff on our own Pokemon in that slot like this. Hariyama uses Knockoff on the Pokemon. And then we see that Hariyama has knocked off Porygon's Retro Mail. And then next turn, you're going to have your Recycle Pokemon use Recycle. We're getting status move cheesed. Oh my God, is this, is this no bottle caps right now? Okay, there we go. So Porygon used Recycle and found the Citrus Berry. And that is the most critical part of the glitch. Once that's done, we can finish the battle, no problem. And once we finish the battle, we are now permanently set up to use the mail glitch. We've now set up our save to be in a glitched state where there's a 7th mail slot that we can now access. We've removed a piece of mail. We can note here that Porygon is holding a citrus berry instead of the retro mail. And what that means is that the message that we put on the mail is now stuck in memory. And so if we try to give mail to all of our Pokemon, the 6th Pokemon won't have anywhere for the message to go, and so it winds up referencing some random spot in memory, which just happens to line up with the Pokemon in our boxes. The first Pokemon that we'll be messing with is Nina, the Nidorina, or if you're in LeafGreen, it'll be NINO, the Nidorino. Both of these can work, but the routes are slightly different. I covered the NINO route in the previous video, so let's cover the Nina route to set up the Ace Pokemon. Except this time we're going a little more in depth because we have the advantage of my spreadsheet to see exactly what's going on under the hood. I've already pre-set up Nina's data in here so that we can see what the changes are before and after corruption. You'll notice that at the bottom there in the A section, that's the attacks substructure of Nina's data. We have Tail Whip, Poison Sting, Double Kick, and Bite. And for the first step of the glitch, we actually need to go to the move deleter and delete every move but Poison Sting, and I'll explain why in just a minute. The move deleter is found in Fuchsia City, right inside this house. And then we just go to this guy, and then one by one, delete these moves. Okay, so here's my last deletion, and now Nina only knows Poison Sting. And now we're going to go put Nina back into box 3, slot 1. It must be box 3, slot 1. That is the only box that works. I would recommend having this box empty because there is going to be some glitchy shenanigans going on in here. But as long as you follow everything correctly, nothing strange is going to happen. And so we'll go into Nina's data here, and you can see that Poison Sting is our only move. And so now I'm going to update the spreadsheet to reflect that so we can get an idea of what's about to happen once we corrupt Nidorina's data. So we're down here in the attacks substructure, right? And we've made it so Poison Sting is the only move. As you can see, I've got 40 here in the yellow box. That represents Poison Sting's index number. We've deleted all the other moves, and now we only have Poison Sting. And you'll see that it updates. And after our first corruption, where we're going to be going to Hitmonchan as the first word, we're going to have a Wigglytuff. Why Wigglytuff? We will see in just a second. We're going to fix this section right here, this M to A that has a glitch move. It probably has more glitch moves because we have origin data and the IVs here, but those, like, because it crashes, I already know it crashes. You might as well just remove the data because it gets in your way. So now that we've finished removing all the moves but Poison Sting, we're going to do our first corruption on Nidorina. I've got the instructions from my spreadsheet on screen here. They're a little esoteric. I don't have them written out step by step in this spreadsheet, but I'm going to be explaining them so it'll make perfect sense. So we're going to leave Nidorina in box 3, slot 1, and we're going to close out of the boxes. Actually, we need to grab a full team of Pokemon, so let's just grab some friends from the box in here. So now we're going to give mail to all of our party Pokemon. And just like before, we're going to do Abra. It's the fastest word to click. It's really fast to do this if you go into your bag first, and then you just hit A, start A. Just like that. Very quick. Once all 5 of your Pokemon have mail, it's the perfect time to save before we do any corrupting, because this is where things could start to go wrong. So we want to be able to return to this point before we get to our desired corruption. Once it's saved, we need to go and give mail to our 6th Pokemon, which in this case is holding a citrus berry, which is fine. We're gonna hit yes to switch. And now this is not what we saw before, right? This is not where you can enter any word. We're actually inside Nidorina's data. And what we're gonna do is follow the steps that I have down here. We're gonna put Hitmonchan and Eevee here into the 2nd and 4th word slot. So these 2 word slots actually line up with the top of Nina's PID and the top of Nina's trainer ID and secret ID. You can see here in the spreadsheet, I have this 00EECA15. That is Nidorina's PID, which is like a Pokemon's unique identifier if you don't know. And we know that because it's a trade Pokemon, so it's fixed. And this section of numbers here, this is the secret ID, the 0000. It's a trade Pokemon, so it just has 0000 as the secret ID. And then 3545 is the trainer ID that you would see in the trade screen, but in hexadecimal format. When we switch to Hitmonchan Eevee, you'll see that I have the actual PID updates listed here. So Hitmonchan corresponds to 2A6B, and Eevee corresponds to 2A85. And the interesting thing about those is that if you bitwise exclusive OR those 2 numbers, I'll actually show you in the calculator because it's a nice little fun fact. So we go hex, we go 2A6B, bitwise exclusive OR 2A85. and we hit equals, and we get EE. Isn't that interesting? We exclusive OR those two numbers, and we get the same number that is equal to Nina's PID. And the reason why that's relevant is because that's how Pokemon data is encrypted. The PID and the TID SID are exclusive ORed against each other. So if we can get the upper half, like if you exclusive OR 00EE and 0000, that half of the encryption key is just going to be EE. So if I can find words in the list of words that I have available for use in the mail system, which the spreadsheet thankfully has here, all the words that we can use and the values that we can use for them, then we can accurately predict what's going to happen by the corruption with 100%, and we're not breaking encryption in any way. So everything is perfectly predictable. There's no risk of bad egging or glitching out one of your moves unless you intentionally want to do that. There's no like unintended results. This is like robot surgery level of control, right? So now we can commit these changes by hitting start and mail messages as shown. Yes. And now when we go into the boxes, we should see a level 0 Wigglytuff in box 3 slot 1. And there she is. Now, because we know that we went from PID 00EECA15 to PID 2A6BCA15. If the substructure order, that is the order in which the game reads the Pokemon's data, has switched. What used to be the growth substructure has now become the miscellaneous substructure. That means like Nidorina is being read as the Met location, and the experience that Nidorina had is being read as the IVs for Wigglytuff, right? And the same thing has happened down the line. So what used to be all that Met data is now Wigglytuff's moves, which is why there's a glitch move here. So we can't look at Wigglytuff's summary. It will crash the game. But we can move it around and we can do stuff with it. Eevee's substructure stayed in the same spot, so nothing has changed here. And then the attack substructure became the growth substructure, which means that Poison Sting, the first move, has now become Wigglytuff, the first slot of that structure, the species. And Wigglytuff is really neat because at level 1, Wigglytuff learns 4 moves automatically. We're going to put Wigglytuff into our party and we're going to go put it in the daycare and take 2 steps. So we head south from Cerulean City down to the daycare here. We just walk inside. We talk to this guy and we give him our Wigglytuff. And then we just go 1, 2, and then we pull Wigglytuff out. And now we can take a look, and Wigglytuff should be totally fine. No game crashing. Everything is super chill. And we now have 4 moves. So let's update that. We have Sing. So I go over here to move lookup. I type Sing. For Sing, this is no longer 254. This is 47, and that is Sing. Our second move is Disable. That's 50. Our third move is Defense Curl. That's 111. And our fourth move, Double Slap, which is 3. And that's how you would go about updating data in the spreadsheet to match what you see in game. You look it up over here in the lookup section. It'll give you the numbers that you need to match. In the yellow parts here, all the yellow boxes in my spreadsheets are user input, and then everything else automatically populates. I'll probably have the uneditable sections locked so that you don't accidentally mess things up in the public version, but you know. So now that Wigglytuff is glitch move safe, we're going to move on to the next step of the corruption. And thankfully we're in the daycare where there's actually a PC, so I don't even have to go anywhere. Love that. And we'll swap Wigglytuff back into box 3 slot 1. That's our corruption slot. And then we're going to enter Magikarp Rhyhorn this time. Magikarp and Rhyhorn exclusive OR to 00EE, just like Hitmonchan Eevee. So it doesn't mess up our encryption, but it does change the PID. And remember, changing the PID is what changed that substructure order. So we go Magikarp and Rhyhorn, and then commit those changes. And then we can back out, go into the boxes and check, and we should have a Parasect. Yes, a Parasect holding a yellow shard. So why is this? Oh, well, it's time to go back to the spreadsheet. So the PID that we changed to was 2A81CA15. So we can go back. So instead of 00EE, now it's 2A81CA15. And look at that. The substructure order has changed once again. We are now EGMA. And so those moves that we learned, Sing, Disable, Defense Curl, Double Slap, have turned into Parasect, Yellow Shard with 196,719 EXP, which conveniently is not level 100, which means we can gain EVs in battle, which is what we need to do, because we want to change this EV substructure up here to be the EVs for our glitch Pokemon 0351. And then spoiler alert, when we corrupt back from Parasect, we're going to go to EV Hitmonchan, which is 2A85CA15. And I can actually type that in now, 2A85CA15. So this is our next step. We're going to go back to a situation where it would be a Nidorina, but we're going to have different EVs this time. Specifically, we need to gain 51 HP EVs and 3 attack EVs, and that can be very easily done by using 5 HP ups, taking out 1 Caterpie, and knocking out 3 Doduo. Caterpie gives 1 HP EV, Doduo gives 1 attack EV. And then for the HP ups, we can actually utilize the mail glitch to duplicate items. That's right, it's a multi-purpose glitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Parasect back into our party. I'm going to give it an HP up. We can replace the yellow shard. That's totally fine. That doesn't mess with us in any way. And then we're going to give Parasect a piece of mail. It'll say, oh, it's already holding an HP up. Are you sure you want to do that? Yeah. And it's going to pop us in here, and we're just going to hit start. And okay, we're not going to change any data in there. And what happened is retro mail got consumed, but now we have another HP up. And just to show that that happens again, we had 5 last time. I'll do it one more time. And now we have 65 retro mail and we have 6 HP ups. So it's a really convenient way. Retro mails only cost like 50 Poké Dollars. So that's a really easy way to duplicate items. Super useful. So now I'm going to use 5 of these on Parasect. Okay, that's my 5th HP up. I have 1 left. That's perfect. I can actually take off the one that Nina is holding. I don't need that on there anymore. And now we need to go battle the Pokemon necessary to gain the EVs. So first I'm going to go knock out my 1 Caterpie. All right, that's a Caterpie down. So there's our 1 HP EV, and now I need to gain 3 attack EVs. I typically use Doduo in LeafGreen, but in FireRed we have the advantage of both Ekans and Mankey spawning on this route, and they also both give attack EVs. So this is a perfectly good place to do your attack EV training here. You have a nice like 30% chance of getting a Pokemon that gives you an attack EV in this grass west of Cerulean. So there's a Mankey down. So that's 1 attack EV. All right, there's an Ekans. That's our 2nd attack EV. And there's our 3rd Ekans. That's 3 attack EVs. We are done. So let's update that in our spreadsheet because we already have this set up to show what's going to happen with the corruption. HP EVs corresponds to this box right here. It's actually a little inverted because of Endian. It's kind of a weird programming thing that I don't expect you to understand. Just know that this is now 81. We've gained 51 HP EVs, and then we've gained 3 attack EVs. And you'll see that this now becomes a glitch species. And in this box right here, we see that is glitch species 0351 in hex. And that is our guy. We just need to make our last word change, which is to Eevee Hitmonchan. So we'll go to the boxes and do that now. So we'll put Nina the Parasect into box 3 slot 1, put our Sceptile back in here, and just like before, we go to bag, give a retro mail, we'll give it to Sceptile. You see it says Magikarp Rhyhorn there, just like it did before. Now we're going to change it to Eevee Hitmonchan. Start. Yes. And there we go. That's committed the changes. And now when we go to box 3 slot 1, we should see that our Nina has become OEIEAAE. Yeah, that is the glitch Pokemon that we need right there. That's the one. And I've booted up my LeafGreen on my DS here just to show that the names are not 100% identical between FireRed and LeafGreen. So in FireRed it's /EAEIA and in LeafGreen it's 0EAEIA. These are both 0351. I opened up and made sure in a save editor they are both the correct glitch species. So if you don't see that name corresponding to your version, then you have done something wrong and you need to reset back to the save that we made before we did any corruption and do the EV training again, because you can't reset EVs in this game. So if you make a mistake up to this point, you are stuck and you need to get the trade Pokemon again from a new save file or another game or something like that. And with that, we're now almost 20 minutes into a Papa Hefe video, which means if you've made it this far, you should probably click the like button and maybe even subscribe if you're not already. Now that we've set up the mail glitch and arbitrary code execution, it's time to start actually making progress on our competitive team. And for that, we need to go beyond using a trade Pokemon for mail corruption, and instead we need to get a normal Pokemon with competitive IVs. And for that, there's no better tool than RNG manipulation. So I'm going to be doing this part on my actual DS with my copy of LeafGreen that I used in the last video. You can do this on FireRed too, but RNG manipulation in FireRed and LeafGreen kind of requires a retail console only because we don't have an accurate way to hit seeds on Emulator. Emulator, of course, has a lot of other tools that you can use for hitting specific seeds. You can make save states, you can edit the RNG and the RAM. There's like Lua scripts that'll show you the seed. So retail methods versus emulator methods are a little different. I'm going to be covering the retail method today because I think that's what most people care about. So we need to find a target Pokemon that has the competitive IVs we need in order to build the team. Because this team only uses Hidden Power Grass, I only need to RNG manipulate one Pokemon that I can then use to corrupt into the full team. And Hidden Power depends on IVs. So if you wanted to build an entire team that had more Hidden Power types, you would need to RNG manipulate more Pokemon. But for the sake of this video, we're going to be keeping it simple. We just need one competitive RNG that's going to act as sort of the seed for this entire team. So I've got Pokefinder open here, and I'm going to go open the static tab, and we're going to find our target. Make sure I'm in FireRed mode. And then I'm going to use the gift Eevee because that is one of the easiest Pokemon that you can use to calibrate RNG. I highly recommend having the gift Eevee available if you want to get into this. It makes calibrating for a particular seed very easy. You can also use Game Corner Pokemon, but they're a little bit lower level, so it's not as easy. We need a Pokemon that's nearly perfect in every stat and has hidden power grass. And I've just set the filter up in here, and we're going to hit search. And we can theoretically use any of these as long as they have hidden power grass 70. So now we need to find one that we know we can hit. And we can do that by using the 10 lines, a wonderful tool from Lincoln and Shao that I will show you now. So we've used the searcher tab in Pokefinder to pull up a list of all the potential Pokemon that have the IVs and hidden power type that we need. So now we need to go over here to this seed column, and we need to paste that into the 10 lines and see if we have any seeds that are relatively close that aren't like super far away. So I'm going to set this here to LeafGreen, which is the one that I'm on. You'd set the game that you're on to match. And then I'm going to grab the seed, Control-C copy, and paste it in up here and hit submit. And you'll see it spits out all the seeds that we've documented and the timers that are needed to hit them. They're approximate timers, but they should be close enough for our purposes. And the closest one here is an hour and 36 minutes away. That's a long way. So I would not pick that one unless it was the only option. So we can just start pasting in each of these seeds here until we find one that's nice and close. So these are all quite far. And oh, this one's only 7 minutes. That's not bad, but the seed time is 72,000. That's pretty long. And thankfully, I actually know which one is going to be the best for LeafGreen, and it's this one right here, 8BF3 1F1A. That is only a 2-minute RNG. That is super easy to do. So that's going to be our target. And we're going to be able to hit that by using a seed timer of 39,429 milliseconds approximately, and then waiting for 5,245 frames. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry. We're going to walk through this in a step-by-step way. I'll explain all the bits and pieces, how I go about confirming this seed, etc., etc. So let's get started. And you'll notice we have a couple windows open. I will explain what these are and how you can get them. But first, we need to set up our options in the game to match what they need to be for our seed. The options in your game, the sound type, the button mode, etc., actually have an effect on what seeds you can hit. And in order to match this seed that we've identified in the 10 lines, we need to match these settings. We need the sound type on mono, which it already is, and then we need to set the button mode to L equals A. And then the other two pieces here, button equals A and select no, are the buttons that you actually press during the intro sequence. So those are not relevant here. Really, the only thing that matters is the sound and the button mode. And then I also have an empty space in my party, so it's easy to grab just Eevee. Don't forget to do this. It's annoying to have to run all the way to the boxes every time. So I'm going to save right here. Now, within this is Eon Timer 3.0 Release Candidate 6. This is the latest version of Eon Timer. The developer DOS Ampharos has done a lot of really great stuff, and you might think we're going to use the 3 tab here for Gen 3, but we're actually going to use the C tab, the custom tab. This is my new favorite thing in the entire world. So once we're on the custom tab, we hit the plus button, and that adds our first timer. And you can see you can select either milliseconds, advances, or seed hex. This is for the painting in Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald. Don't worry about that. And so we're going to set the target here in milliseconds to match what we have in the 10 lines, which is 39429. Now we need to add a second timer, and this is going to be for our Eevee. Now we're not going to go for our target frame of 5,245 yet, because we're just trying to calibrate and make sure that we can hit the seed that we want. We're going to set this to advances, and we're going to set this to a target of 500. And that's everything we need to do for the timer. So that's going to be our timer for hitting the Eevee. Next, we need to open my tool, Gen 3 Seed Assistant. This little wonderful program lets us search the stats of the Eevee we got and actually find out what seed that Eevee came from, which is super useful. For this part, Eevee is a high enough level that we don't actually have to enter any seeds. We can search all 65,536 possible seeds at the same time. We just have to search a narrow enough range of advances that we don't get a lot of duplicate results. So we put advances 500 here into Eon Timer, but I know from experience that there's a little bit of delay on the title screen before the seed is set. So I would recommend putting 400 down here, and then like plus or minus 50, I think should be fine. Maybe even 20 if we get some duplicate results. We're going to stick with 50 for now, just to be sure that that works. And now we're ready to make our first calibration run. So I've already saved my game. I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm going to be chilling on the GBA launch screen here on the DS. If you are on a regular Game Boy or playing on the Game Boy Player for something like that, you actually have to flip the power button and start the timer at the same time, which is a little annoying. So I really like the DS Lite or DS Fat because they have this Start GBA Game menu. And then we're going to hit A to start the GBA game and hit start on the timer at the same time, just like this. And then we wait. Our initial timer is 35 seconds. We don't touch anything because skipping the intro cutscene will actually cause the seed to change. Every single button input you do on the console during the boot up sequence has an effect on what seed you hit. So we minimize that by only doing one thing, which in this case is holding the A button when the timer completes. So we wait for this little section here. We wait for our beeps. All right, beeps are coming any second now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm holding A, holding A, holding A, and we're good. We can advance. Skip this stuff. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then hit A to claim the Eevee. And that is everything we need to do for a calibration run. So we've got an Eevee here. And then we're going to plug his stats into our calculator. So you select Eevee. We select Serious, and then we go over to the stats page. Level 25, 66 HP, 37 attack, 33 defense, 31 special attack, 40 special defense, and 38 speed. We hit Calculate, IV ranges, send to filters, and then search. And you'll see we get two results here. We get 30E7 and BC69. So how do we know which of these two is our target? It could feasibly be either, right? Because this is our first attempt. So we can actually use the 10 lines to try and find which of these two seeds matches the settings of the seed we know we need to hit our 6 IV target. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this tab, and then I'm going to set it to LeafGreen just like before, but I'm going to enter one of these seeds. So we'll start with 30E7, 30E7, and hit submit. And you see this one is sound mono L equals help. That is not ours, right? This is 59,000, nowhere near what we wanted to see. So we put in BC69, hit submit, and there we go. There we go. Sound mono, that matches. L equals LA, that matches. And we hit 38,591. So what we're going to do is adjust our timer and Eon timer to make up the difference between these two, 39,429 and 38,591. So we open up Eon timer, and then right here in this hit section, we're going to copy the timer that we got, paste it into hit, and hit update. And you'll see that we got 838. So that's the number of milliseconds difference between the one we want and the one we got. And then we do another attempt to see if that closes the gap. So you turn off your game, get right back to the screen, and then just like before, we hit A to start the GBA game, and I use spacebar to start the timer, but you have to be highlighted on the start button like this. It needs to be in red. You can press tab inside Eon timer to cycle what the spacebar actually activates, and then we just boop, start it again. Here come the beeps. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Holding A, holding A, holding A. All right, we're good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we've claimed another Eevee. So let's see if we got closer to our target seed this time. This Eevee is a naughty. We put naughty as the nature, and then we enter the stats. 25, 63, 42, 35, 33, 40, 39. Calculate and search. And there we go. 1377 is in fact our target seed. So it only took us one attempt to get our target seed using this nice little trick of using two different 10 lines to calibrate. In the past, this has been different kinds of difficult, but I think this is a really nice workflow thanks to the 10 lines combined with this custom timer section in Eon timer. So we love this. So now we have a workable calibration that we know works for hitting the seed that we need. So you might think that our next step is to take our target advances of 5245, plug it into the target section here, and start going for our actual 6 IV Eevee. But unfortunately, if we were to do that right now, it would not be compatible with mail corruption because of encryption. Remember I said that the PID, the unique identifier, and your trainer ID and secret ID get exclusive ORed together in order to create the encryption key. And that would cause mail corruption to basically bad egg every time we try to enter words into the mail system. But there's a unique vulnerability to this system. what happens if your trainer ID and secret ID perfectly match the Pokemon's PID? Well, then the encryption key is 0 and your Pokemon's data is essentially unencrypted. So we need to change our trainer ID and secret ID to match the PID of our target Eevee exactly. And thankfully, Arbitrary Code Execution lets us do this. That's why we had to set it up earlier. You need that if you want to mess with this, because you need to be able to get an unencrypted Pokemon. And I'm going to open up eShark's Ace Code Generator. This is a time-honored tradition on the channel, opening up this bad boy. We love the eShark Ace Code Generator because it makes it very easy to just generate box codes on the fly. So we're going to click Change TID SID Grab Ace. We're using Grab Ace, not Move Ace. They are slightly different. And then you'll see that we just have to enter a trainer ID and a secret ID here. And if you hit compute, it'll spit out a box code that you can use to activate an ACE code. So this ACE code would cause our trainer ID and secret ID to change to 000 and 000, but we don't want that. We want them to match our Eevee's PID exactly. So let's open up PokeFinder and look at the PID of the Eevee that we want. So this is F35F521A. Now, in order to get this to line up exactly, the first half of the PID has to be the secret ID, and the second half of the PID has to be the TID. Now, a nice thing about this is that here we have it listed in decimal, but eShark's tool can actually take in hex numbers as well if you just do a 0x. So we're going to do 0x, and remember the trainer ID is the second half of the PID, so 521A, and the first half is F35F. So we go 0x F35F. F. Let me hit compute and look at that. We've now got a box code that should change our trainer ID and secret ID to match this. In game, this means we need to leave Eevee temporarily and head to the Pokemon Center so we can actually enter the box names. And then from here, we're just going to go to each box and enter the names one by one. So there's box 1. Box 2, you'll see this has a 0C in it. Zeros inside the generator will have a slash through them. So that's how you know the difference between capital O and a 0. So there's our box 2. Now, box 3, we have 2 trailing spaces at the end. Make sure you actually type both of those spaces. The extra spaces are important. There's our box 3. Make sure you pay attention to the direction of those quotation marks. There are left and right double and single quotes. There's our box 5, box 6, box 7, box 8. Once again, remember these spaces. They're very important. Box 9, box 10, and finally box 11. See, that wasn't so bad. And now that the box codes are entered, it's a good idea to save before we run any of the codes, because in case it goes wrong, in case we made a typo, in case the game crashes, we don't want to lock ourselves. And because this is our first ACE code of the video, let's go over how you should go about executing codes. So first and foremost, you want to make sure that box 13 and 14 are empty except for your glitch Pokemon here, NINO. And whenever you want to move NINO, I believe in the beginning of the video, I left it in box 3, slot 1. We want to grab it with the yellow hand. You press select to get the yellow hand, and then you can pick this guy up and move him around without causing any issues. We're going to put him down there, and then we're going to put a second Pokemon next to him, which in this case, I'll just grab this little Abra from over here that I was using. Then we're going to pick up the Abra, swap it with the glitch Pokemon. We didn't crash. That's a good sign. Drop him back down and then back out of the PC. And when we go into our trainer card, we should see that our trainer ID has changed, and it has. And then we just want to confirm that the trainer ID that we see matches the trainer ID that we put in here. And obviously in eShark's generator, it's in hex, but we can use Windows Calculator to convert hex to decimal very easily. You go to Calculator, you go to programmer mode, and then we're going to enter it in hex 521A, and you can see in decimal we get 21018, which lines up with our trainer. And so it looks like the trainer ID and secret ID swap has worked perfectly. So now that I've confirmed that code has run as expected, I'm going to save once more, and then we can finally start going for our Eevee. And a nice consequence of this is that our target Eevee will now be shiny. All unencrypted Pokemon are shiny, which is pretty cool. Just because shininess also involves exclusive ORing the PID and the trainer ID and the secret ID. And so we're back to our Eevee. We can save right in front of it. I haven't changed any of my options, so I know that's all good. And now it's time to actually RNG our target 6IV Eevee, who will now be unencrypted. So the major difference this time is that our target advances isn't going to be 500 anymore. We aren't just calibrating. We want to actually aim for the target. And so we're going to use this advances number here from the 10 lines, 5245, and plug that into Eon timer, 5245. And now the second stage of our timer is going to be about 87 seconds. So this is going to take about 2 minutes, which once again is very quick for a 6 IV Pokemon, right? This is a phenomenal seed. And then everything else is exactly the same. We're going to start our timer and start the GBA game at the same time. Boop. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Holding, holding, holding. Okay. And then we just wait here in front of our Eevee until the timer resolves. All right, here we go. First attempt. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've obtained the Eevee. Let's check the stats and see how we did. I expect this first attempt to be a little off because we did change our timer and everything, and we're much further into the RNG. We also need to update the target advances here in Gen 3 Seed Assistant to match our target over here. So in this case, it's 5245. And then we're going to enter the stats. This is a serious Eevee, level 25, 63, 38, 32, 28, 38, 35. Calculate and search. And so we hit 5265 on 1FE4 theoretically. And remember, we can use the 10 lines to see if that makes sense. So we'll go back to the 10 lines. I'll go to my second tab, which was my tab for checking the results, and I'm going to plug in that 1FE4 here and hit submit. And now see, here's a little bit of a funky situation, right? This seed timer is way different than what we expected. What this means is that our range here is a little bit too narrow. So we were off by more than 50, which is to be expected because it's our first attempt and there are differences. So I'm actually going to up this to 100 and search again. And we should get a couple more results. We got 5300, 5316. So let's try these out. Let's try 11BB. This one is also too far. That does not quite make sense. We're looking for something in the 39,000 range. So let's try BFDC. Once again, BFDC, 46,000, 50,000, too far. So let's expand this range a little bit more. We'll go to 200 now. Okay, we got a couple more options. A5EA, that's a new one. A5EA. Aha! A5EA is 39462. So that is very, very close to our expected one of 39429. That's only 33 milliseconds off. So 2 frames, which is fine, right? We were off by 2 frames. That's no big deal. So this is the one we actually hit. So we hit frame 5132. So we want to adjust that in our Eon timer. So we're going to put hit 5132 and hit update. And now we have a calibration for the Eevee as well, which is exactly what we want. And now we can run an attempt again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Holding. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, hopefully this guy is very, very close to our target. Jolly, we didn't get it, which, you know, is kind of to be expected. We'll change our nature to Jolly, enter the stats. 25, 66, 34, 31, 29, 40, 40. And we can actually narrow this range now because we should be a lot closer. I'm going to go back down to 50. Okay, we hit calculate IV ranges, send to filters, and then search. And this time we got 5C3E. So we're going to put this in here. 5C3E. Submit. And there we go. 39445. That is only 1 frame different than 39427. Those are only 16 milliseconds apart. And we hit 5244. So we were 1 frame off on our Eevee, and we were 1 frame off on our seed. That is very close. Close enough that it's within human error. And so I'm going to keep using this timer until I get my Eevee. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. This time we got a timid Eevee. Let's check it out. 25, 66, 29, 32, 27, 38, 37. Calculate and search. Okay, we hit CAD5, 5246. So that looks to be 1 frame late on the advances. We want 5245. We got 5246. And CAD5 is 39412. So we want 39429. We got 39412. We were 1 frame early that time, 1 frame late on the target. Once again, 1 frame difference, small enough that it's human error. You see I went down 1, up 1, down 1, up 1. We just need the stars to align and we get our Eevee. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, who's this guy? 70 HP, that's a good sign. Bingo! There is our shiny. And we can plug in the stats, and we should see that those IVs are perfect. So this is a lonely Eevee. 70, 44, 33, 35, 45, 40. Calculate and search. And look at that. 31, 30, 31, 30, 31, 31 hidden power grass. That is our Eevee. So we just got a 6 IV shiny just like that. And I didn't even have to cut any attempts. Everything you saw in the video was the number of attempts that I did. This is, of course, a save moment. We're going to save, and then I'm going to head back to the PC, and we're going to open up the spreadsheet, and we're going to start doing stuff to this Eevee. Oh, now we could start corrupting this Eevee right away. I'm going to plop him down into my box 3 slot 1, which is our corruption slot, but we put in a lot of work to get this 6 IV Eevee, and I plan to use him to make an entire competitive team. How do I turn one Pokemon into 6 Pokemon? Well, the answer is, of course, cloning. And you might think, well, we've only shown how to clone items so far in FireRed and LeafGreen. There's a way to clone Pokemon? Like, there's no battle tower in this game like Emerald. How do we do that? Well, we're going to create something called the Fast Clone Pokemon. It's actually another glitch Pokemon that gives us insane amounts of power, and we're going to do that using one more ace code. This will be our only other ace code for this, and it's such a high utility thing that learning how to use the fast cloning Pokemon is invaluable. So in sticking with the theme of the video, every glitch I know, let's show off how to use the fast clone Pokemon in FireRed and LeafGreen. Thankfully, this is pretty easy. I put in a pull request to add this code into eShark's generator this morning, and eShark was kind enough to add it for me. This is create Pokemon from nothing, grab ace. And what this will do is generate any Pokemon you want into box 9 slot 27, and it will be shiny, but it will have 0 in everything. It'll be level 0, it'll have no moves, it'll have no stats, but that's perfect for when we just need a glitch species. And I actually have the default in here set up as 3200, which is the glitch species for English FireRed and LeafGreen that allows you to do this fast cloning technology. I even included Sleipner's video to the fast clone Pokemon in here, so you can reference that as well. All thanks to Sleipner for making this original create Pokemon from nothing code. I just adapted it into the eShark code generator because I find it easier to work with for many reasons. So we just hit compute, and that'll give us the box names that we need. And I'm just going to type these in and run the code, and we should get the fast clone Pokemon pretty quick. Okay, so I've finished entering the code. We got G, Sun, NC, H-O, 0PN, L1PN, 1XMRN, DRM, ... OA. So that's all good. And remember, best practices, we always save before we execute a code, just in case of a crash, so we don't have to go back and do everything again. And then once it's saved, just head over to box 13, where our little dude is. Just like before, I use the yellow hand, pick up Abra, swap, no crash, drop, and then we'll go back into box 9. We should see a little guy here. And this is Uanua. This is our fast clone Pokemon. So always, if you're going to hover over him, make sure you're on the yellow hand, because he does a lot of weird stuff and he will crash your game. Yellow hand only is safe for moving this guy. Do not move him with anything else. And then where I like to put him is right down here in box 12, because box 12, we're allowed to have Pokemon in here for ace operation. We have to leave boxes 13 and 14 empty, except for our ace trigger, and that's it. But box 12 is free, so this is a great place to do some cloning. And I know the name of this guy is Uanua, so I know this is our dude. This is species 3200. So now that I have him, I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to show us how to use him. It's a little finicky, I will admit, but it's very powerful. And I'll show you what I mean. We're going to grab our Eevee that we spent all that time on, and we're going to make a couple of backups just in case we make some mistakes along the way. So I'm going to grab our Eevee, and then we're going to put it right on top of the glitch Pokemon right there, one space above the glitch Pokemon. And then we're going to go to the white hand, and this is an intentional white hand use that allows for the cloning. So we're going to hover over Uanua, back over to Eevee, and then hit A and move. And it's going to pick up a blank Pokemon. And then we swap and then place Eevee down. Now, every time we pick up this blank Pokemon, it makes a clone. We have to back out of the boxes, but then when we go in, look at that. We now have 5 perfect clones of our Eevee. Now, there is a blank Pokemon right here, and depending on whether you're in FireRed or LeafGreen, getting rid of it can be a little weird. In LeafGreen, you can just go to release, and you should be able to release it. In FireRed, I believe that crashes your game. So in FireRed, what you have to do is go to the yellow hand and select the Pokemon next to it, hold A, and then put it in a multi-select like this, and then when you drop it down, that'll remove it in FireRed, but it does not get rid of it in LeafGreen. In LeafGreen, you have to release it. But that's cool. He's gone, and then we could set up another clone. But we've got 5 of our little Eevees here. We have plenty of backups. This will also dupe items. It's pretty fast, right? And another neat thing about this is we can mass delete with this little guy as well. So let's delete 2 of these Eevees. I'm going to bring them into the box again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a group selection. So remember, yellow hand, and we're going to go 1, 2. We're going to make sure there's a blank space to the right. And then we drop that blank space onto our glitch Pokemon and then back out. And you'll see that our Eevees are gone. They've been deleted. So this guy is both a Pokemon cloner and Pokemon deleter. He's very, very cool. But remember, you need to be careful when you use him. I recommend saving before you use him, confirming that everything worked correctly. But that's great. We now have backups of our Eevees, so even if we make a mistake during our corruption steps, we can revert to the original unencrypted Eevee that we started with. And because I'm trying to make an entire competitive team, along the way, there's going to be spots where I want to branch out and duplicate it, because I'll need to make, you know, changes to one and changes to the other to make it a Swampert, to make it a Charizard, to teach it Beat Up, to teach it Ancient Power, you know, all that good stuff. So fast clone Pokemon, very, very cool. And with that, it is time for the main event. Hello, I'm down in the corner. I'm very small because the spreadsheet is big and we need to be able to see all of it. So what do we do with our Eevee to get started making it an entire competitive team? Well, I'm going to put it into box 3 slot 1 because that is our corruption slot. I've hammered that in, but it's very important that we use box 3 slot 1. And then we're going to delete everything in the spreadsheet here. Boop. Goodbye. It's empty. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put in our PID for the Eevee that we RNG'd, which conveniently should be saved right here. So it's F35F521A. I'm going to Control C copy, Control V paste. Okay. So this is just a reference so you don't forget what you were when you started. And then we also paste it into this yellow box here. And that is our before PID. So we see that the order that we have is GEAM for our Eevee. So that means we can set this up to match the Eevee in game. So our Pokemon lookup is Eevee. That's 133. We're gonna put that right here. Oh, he's an Eevee now. Oh, isn't that nice? He has 15,625 experience, and we can convert that in down here. 15,625. That converts to 00619. And the order of that is a little weird, I know, but it's 96100. And now you'll see that that matches in game. Friendship, this isn't going to super matter. We're probably going to wind up clearing this later anyway, but I think you start with 70 friendship. And then these are unused. EVs, we don't have any of those. Let's go to the moves and we go helping hand. Okay, that's 1 and 14 for helping hand. Sand attack, that's 28. Growl, that's 45. And quick attack, that's 98. So we have that data in there just so we can keep track of it. Down here we have the miscellaneous substructure, and that contains metadata, origin data, IVs, etc. We don't really need to put a bunch of values here, but we are going to make one big change down here. And the reason why is because I want all these Pokemon to look legal. I don't want them to be obvious hackmons. That's not really what I'm about. In order to make Pokemon with egg moves legal, we need them to have egg move metadata. So our first quest with this Eevee is to replace his Celadon City metadata, which is 94 and decimal. I'll put that right there. He doesn't have Pokerust, that's a 0. So we need to change this origin section right here. And unfortunately, in the spreadsheet, I don't have a good way to get the origin data yet because it's a bit of a complicated math endeavor. But thankfully we have another tool, the substructure organizer from KRLW890. I would not have been able to make my spreadsheet if not for this tool, but this is all set up for Pomeg Berry based corruption. And we're not doing Pomeg Berry based corruption, we're doing mail corruption. So I'm going to just see here what this data would be by using this tool. So we met at level 25. We're in a Pokeball. We were a male trainer from LeafGreen. So that value is actually going to be 34,153 in decimal, 2299 in hex. And we can put that into our other boxes back in our spreadsheet, even though we're going to wind up replacing this. This is the value that we want to change to be something valid for an egg-based Pokemon. What would be the stats for an egg-based Pokemon? Well, they would be met at level 0. And then ideally, it actually comes from Emerald, because Pokemon from Emerald generate their IVs and their PID completely separately. So that means you can arbitrarily have any combination of IVs and PID, which means that anything that we do, no matter what PID we give this Eevee, because remember, we're going to be changing the PID by writing words into the spreadsheet, any PID we give it will be valid for the IVs that this little guy has, which is pretty cool. So now that we've got Eevee's data in here and we're all synced up in the spreadsheet, it's time to make our first move. And what is our first move? Well, we're actually going to evolve our Eevee into a Flareon. So our Eevee has become 136 Flareon. We'll update that on the spreadsheet. It's not super relevant at the moment, but good to know. And then what we're going to do is we're going to teach it Fire Blast. And now I'm going to change its move order. I'm going to put Fire Blast in second, Sand Attack in first, and then I'm going to go delete Growl and Quick Attack. And we'll update all this in the spreadsheet after it's done, and then I'll show you what that's going to mean after our first corruption. Okay, so now our Flareon only knows Sand Attack and Fire Blast. And I'll update the spreadsheet in here to account for that. Sand Attack is 28, and Fire Blast is 126. And that's the only change we've made. And what we're going to do now is we're going to swap to GAEM. How do we do that? We're going to be swapping E and A. Well, that's one of the nice things about this spreadsheet is that we can access any corruption type very easily using this unencrypted Pokemon. So to get to GAEM, we just need to use this PID right here, which corresponds to voices exclamation point. So I'm going to copy this and put it into the after PID. And you'll see that now we're going to have 126 EVs in defense, 0 in speed, and 28 in HP. And we're going to do that by making the first 4 words of the mail all the same. If you've been paying attention, it might have just clicked that why we make them all the same is that we are keeping the encryption key 0. As long as the trainer ID, secret ID, and PID are the same, which in this case they would be because I've just made them all the same character. And remember, these first 4 word slots correspond to the PID, trainer ID, and the secret ID. The data structure is going to change order, but the Pokemon is still 100% valid. And so if we go and take a look, we still have a Flareon because G didn't change, right? But now it's a naive nature. Oh, that's a fun little side effect. The nature has changed. I wonder what else we'll do with that. Wink, wink. And if you recall, our goal was to replace this origin data of 2299 with the Emerald Egg metadata of 2180. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that with a little bit of EV training. So we're going to take this 126 and make it a 128 by gaining 2 defense EVs. And you'll see that becomes 80. And then we're going to gain 33 speed EVs, and that's going to become 2-1. 33 is 2-1 in hex. And this is very easily done. We only have to knock out 5 Pokemon and use 3 Carbos. So I'm going to do that now. 2 defense EVs, very straightforward to get by fighting a Metapod. And after leaving Viridian Forest, I knocked out a Pidgey. And then I went down to Diglett's Cave and knocked out 1 Diglett and 2 Diglets. That's Pidgey and 2 Diglets. Each of them give 1 speed EV, so that's 3 total. And then we just need to give the 3 Carbos, and then we're ready to move on to the next step. And that makes 3. Okay, let's put them back in box 3, slot 1, and do another corruption. So this time we want to swap G and E. We want to get G down here so we can turn this into a glitch item and then pull it off of the Pokemon. That's right. We can store data that we got by EV training into an item, and then we can swap again and put the item into this spot, and then voila, we've gotten our egg metadata in place. So we need to go to EAGM. EAGM is time always over here. So I'm going to grab this PID just like before, pop it in over here. And so we should have a Sandslash holding glitch item 2180 by going over to, once again, EAGM. That's time always is our word. And finally, time always. And then start. Okay. We'll actually go to move items and we'll see that he's holding just question mark. This is Flareon the Sandslash. Come on, this is glitch item 2180. We're going to put that in the bag because we're going to need it for this next swap. So what we've just done is just deleted this. This is now gone. So now he's Sandslash holding nothing. So now we need to get this guy to be G. If we can get M to be G, then we can add that item really quickly and then swap him back. So all we need to do to get G and M to swap is go to EAMG, right? And EAMG is battle aim. So we're just going to do that right now. Battle, aim. Now he might be a glitch species here, but that doesn't really matter because all we're doing is putting an item onto him. So I'm going to go to move items, bag this one. I'm going to give him the first one that we took. That's our 2180. And then let's switch him back to a Flareon by going to our original PID order, which was GEAM. GEAM is endings all. Throw out this other glitch item because I don't need it anymore. It's worthless. I actually set this part of the spreadsheet up to all be words that are near the top of their category, so it's very quick to be able to change between these substructure orders when you're doing a lot of swaps like this. And look at that. He says apparently met in Celadon City now. Met at level 5, not 25, because he was an egg. He's docile nature, and he just knows sand attack because we took that fire blast and we turned it into the glitch item. So this is a successful metadata swap. This is one of the more complicated things we'll be doing today, but that technique of taking data and storing it into an item is going to be very useful when we get to Eevee training. By taking specific Eevee patterns and storing them in items, we can Eevee train very fast and efficiently. And that's probably going to be our next step because EVs are kind of the hardest part, and then doing species and moves are really quite easy after that, just by swapping between growth and attacks. And just to show that I'm not goofing about this Pokemon being 100% legal, I've opened it up in PK Hex and you can see it says legal here. It has some fishies because we have trainer ID and secret ID being equal and all the EVs being equal to 0, but it's leveled above Met level, but that can be done by something by Rare Candy, so I'm not entirely sure where that's fishy. But yeah, as you can see, now it's Origin Game Emerald, Met level 0. We hover over it, it says encounter type egg Eevee. So this is, for all intents and purposes, a 100% legal 6 IV Flareon. And we have the ability to change it into any Pokemon we want now and have it remain legal as long as it can be hatched from an egg. And because I've now confirmed that our Flareon is legal, this is a good place to make a checkpoint in the process, basically, by making a few clones. We go back to our fast clone. I hope you guys paid attention because this is going to be on the quiz. All right, we've got some backups. I'll just release this little blank guy here. That's best practice. Always delete that little guy. All right, it's time to start cooking on our first competitive Pokemon, and I'm going to kick things off with Swampert. So the first thing that I'm going to do is twofold. I'm going to take my Flareon, put him into the party, and I'm going to teach him Double Team. The reason I'm teaching him Double Team is because after the substructure swap I'm about to do, Double Team is going to become a Big Mushroom. Big Mushroom, very useful item in FireRed and LeafGreen because that's how you use the move tutor. And then I'm just going to put him back in box 3, slot 1. And I'm going to start going a little bit faster here because we've kind of covered the basics. And to be honest, this video is already insanely long and I've got to do 6 Pokemon. So I'm headed over to AEGM, which is Feelings Adore. That's going to swap G and A. And fortunately, the glitch move that Sandslash has is actually stable, does not crash the game. Sometimes these will crash the game, but this guy looks to be pretty stable. Now, of course, if you get a glitch move that does crash the game, we learned that fun little trick with Wigglytuff, where if you go over to a Pokemon that learns 4 moves at level 1, right, you can take him to the daycare and level him up and erase all those glitch moves. So there are techniques to get around crashes, but thankfully we don't have to worry about it in this case. So now that I've swapped G and A, I'm going to give him an Iron and claim my Big Mushroom. Thank you very much. Then I taught him Strength and Cut so that after I swap him back, he'll have enough XP to be well over the threshold of being able to relearn any move depending on what Pokemon he is. Then we'll go back over to Endings All so that he'll turn into Flareon once again. And now he's level 99. Very convenient. Now I'm going to take this Zinc and give him an Iron. Swap him back to Feelings Adore. Now I'm going to swap Drill Peck and High Jump Kick, which will turn our Flareon into an Alakazam. There's our Alakazam, and I got a free Frost Berry, which is nice, and he only knows Sand Attack, which is fine. So now we're going to teach him some moves that I can then use to EV train him. So this is our first EV training situation. The first move I'm going to teach him is Return. Then I'm going to head over to 2 Island and head into the Move Reminder's house. And then while I'm here, I'm going to make a couple clones of this Big Mushroom, so I have a few of them for later. There we go. I've got 2 extra Big Mushrooms now. And now I need to learn Future Sight. And then I can forget Sand Attack. Change the order of these real quick. So I've updated the spreadsheet here, and Future Sight and Return will correspond to 248 HP EVs and 216 Defense EVs after I switch A and E. So I'm going to be going to GAEM, which is this PID right here. And then for the last bit of Swampert's EVs, I'm just going to need 44 Special Defense, which is just 4 Zinks and, you know, a couple battles, which is no big deal. GAEM is just 4 exclamation points, which we've done already. Now our guy has no moves, which is fine. And just to finalize those EVs, I'm going to give him these Zinks. And actually, because he's near the cap, I can just give him 5 because he's going to cap him out anyway. So now I'm actually at 46 Spadef EVs, which is totally fine. Alakazam is super nice because not only were we able to learn Future Sight and Return in order to get our HP and defense EVs, but he also learns Skill Swap. And since he has no moves, I can just teach him Skill Swap. And then if I update that in the spreadsheet and swap G and A, we should have our Swampert with all the EVs we need. Now, the tricky part here is that we also want him to have a particular nature. And thankfully, this system is so powerful, there's so many options, that we can actually arbitrarily pick any substructure order and any nature that we want. And that's what this little PID finder section is right here. So if I want to go to AGEM, but I don't want to use this default one of voices ... Instead, I want relaxed Swampert, AGEM. Then I just need to make it status dragon, which is pretty easy. All right, there we go. Status dragon in all 4 slots. And now we should have a beautiful Swampert. There he is. Relaxed Swampert. He's named Flareon, but, you know, we can patch that up a little bit later. Ace gives us the ability to nickname any Pokemon. I know I said it wasn't going to use any more Ace codes, but come on, let me, you know, for nicknaming, give me a break. And then for the sake of completeness, I'll pop him into the daycare, take my 2 steps. And look at that. All his glitchy moves are gone. I'll finish doing the rest of the cleanup stuff later, but for all intents and purposes, this Swampert is done. All right, so it's time to move on to our next Pokemon, Blissey. And in this case, we're going to be also doing some extra stuff that helps me pick up some items that I need along the way. So we've started with a fresh Flareon here, and I've reset up the spreadsheet. And the first thing we're going to do is give Flareon a TM20 for Safeguard. And then we're going to swap G and A really quick. And for that, we'll be using Adore. And that's going to turn into Hydro Cannon as the second move on our Flareon. And then we're going to swap that into the first move slot. And then we're going to go back to Endings All. And he should change to a new Pokemon. And that Pokemon just happens to be Spinda, and Spinda is very useful for quite a few reasons. And the first is that we can use the move reminder to teach him Uproar, which has an index number of 253, which is 1 above a maximum EV, which is super useful. And then the second is that at level 34, he learns Teeter Dance, which corresponds to TM10, which is our hidden power TM, which is super useful because it's usually only gotten by pickup in this game. And it'll let us turn something into a C-Dot, so it actually serves 2 purposes. So we'll head back to Feelings Adore and then turn him back into a Sandslash. Now there's a non-zero chance that this new glitch move I've created by leveling him up to 34 will crash the game. So I'm going to make sure to save before I do this one because it's a new glitch move and I don't want to have to do this stuff again. Now I can for sure claim my TM10 and then clone that using the mail glitch. But let's see if that causes a crash. Yeah, that's a crash. Pink Screen City. Got a nice sound here. Isn't that lovely? Good news is that after a reset, I can just clone my hidden power TMs and then give it back to him and then just turn him into a Spinda and then he won't be a problem. He won't crash anymore. So what I'm going to do is teach him Snatch, which will turn him into a Lanoon after we swap back, and then remove the third move, which will make him be level 0. And then we can do the daycare trick to get rid of that glitch move and then clean things up. So we'll head over to Adore once more, grab our Lanoon, who's now holding Uproar as a glitch item. That's fine, we can just leave that there. And because you can only learn 4 moves when going from level 0 to level 1, it's important to make sure that his move list is full so that glitch move actually gets deleted. So I taught the Lanoon Cut, and then if you try to teach him another move and it says Flareon, it says he wants to learn the move, do you want to delete one? Do not go in there because that will crash the screen. That means you have a full move list, so he's ready to go into the daycare for the daycare trick. And so just like before, we pop him into the daycare, take our 2 steps, and we take a look at our Lanoon and he should be perfectly safe. It's important to note that you can check for Pokemon that have 4 level up moves at level 1 like this by looking on something like Cerebi and seeing if they have 4 moves here right at the beginning of their learn set. And then I'm actually going to drop him into the daycare one more time to gain him 2 more EXP, so he has 4 EXP after the swap. All right, so there we go. He's got 4 experience and he knows Growl, Tackle, Tail Whip, Cut. So after I corrupt him, he should turn into a Vileplume holding a Revival Herb that's like level 98. And he should also know Comet Punch, which is nice, for reasons I will get into in just a minute. And we got our Vileplume as expected, and you might be starting to see how this is almost like a Pokemon crafting system, right? It's like a fun puzzle game that you get to solve about what moves turn into what items or what Pokemon and what level different Pokemon learn different moves at, so you can get data into certain spots. And there's really cool ways to double up tasks, like me giving Vileplume a TM10 here before I corrupt, which will allow it to have Teeter Dance when I corrupt it back. Why do I want Teeter Dance? Well, you'll see. And look at that, there's my shiny Charmander holding a PP Max. We'll throw that in the bag. And then I'm also going to switch Teeter Dance into the first move slot, so that when I corrupt back, I can turn myself into a C-Dot. And the crazy thing is that we've done all of this by swapping between only 2 different sets of words, Adore and All. It's been super super simple. And look at that, there's my C-Dot holding a Sacred Ash, and we're going to pick him up, and we're going to take him to the move reminder, because he learns a move that turns into a very useful Pokemon, and once you see it, you'll know exactly what I mean. So now that our C-Dot has Synthesis in the first slot, let's corrupt him and see what happens. Yes, indeed, we have just gotten ourselves a Smeargle, and if you know anything about Smeargle, you know that Smeargle learns the move Sketch, which we can use to learn any move. And we're going to go teach this guy Sketch right now. Good thing I got all those big mushrooms. And we're just going to throw that into the second slot so we can get what Sketch becomes as an item, which is a Durin Berry. Using the Durin Berry, we can basically get Sketch onto any Pokemon we want and then learn any of those weird moves like egg moves, or tutor moves, or things that become really annoying to get that have really high index numbers that are kind of hard to corrupt into. Yes, now my C-Dot is holding a Durin Berry, and now I have an unlimited clonable supply of Sketch. And you might be wondering, what does all this have to do with Blissey? What are Comet Punch and Uproar for? Well, let me just give C-Dot a rare candy and evolve him into a Nuzleaf real quick. Nuzleaf, very cool. All right, now let's go teach him a move. Okay, Fake Out, perfect. That's exactly the move I want. And Fake Out just happens to have an index number of 252. So I'm going to delete Synthesis. And then for the first time in this chain, we're actually going to go to a different corruption type. We're going to go to GAEM, which is, of course, exclamation point. We've also seen this one before. And once we commit that, our Nuzleaf now has 4 HP EVs, 252 defense EVs, and 253 special attack EVs, which is exactly the spread we need for Blissey. Isn't that neat? All I need to do now is pick up a Mystic Water, give it to Nuzleaf, teach him Cut so he has at least one move, head over to Voices ... so I can switch him to AGEM. Take a look at this here, Beedrill, and then swap Spark into the first move slot, swap him back over to exclamation points, which nets me this nice little level 100 Snubble, teach my Snubble Crunch, put Crunch in the first move slot, and last but not least, search for a modest AGEM PID, which is Greetings and Excuse Me. Put those bad boys in, and just like that, there's our Blissey. So that's 2 Pokemon down, minus the moves and the leveling, but we'll get to that, So we're back with a fresh spreadsheet and a nice clean Flareon, and it's time to start working on Skarmory. For Skarmory's EV training, we're going to be using a little bit of a different approach. We're actually going to be swapping the growth and EV structure this time. Skarmory needs to get to 252 special defense EVs, which is not easily accomplished with something like learning a specific move. Instead, we're going to need to use things like glitch items and using the daycare to gain a specific amount of experience. So let's just kick things off with our first move. We're going to take our Flareon here and we're going to give him TM25. Then it's back over to Adore. We love the classics. This will swap A and G. TM25 becomes Fake Tears as a move. We're going to put that into the first slot so we can change Flareon species. Then it's back to Endings All. And now we've got ourselves a Whalmer. We're going to take this Whalmer and we're going to teach him Whirlpool. Whirlpool is going to go into the first move slot. Then we're going to go over to Adore, our old favorite. And now we've got ourselves a level 0 Ho-Oh. We're going to take this Ho-Oh out and then we're going to pop him into the daycare. And then for this one, I'm actually going to leave Ho-Oh in for a little bit and bike around and gain some extra experience because we want him to gain quite a few levels. All right, so I went up and down about 5 times. Let's go pull him out and see where he's at. All right, cool. We've gained 6 levels. That's good stuff. So now Flareon the Ho-Oh has 594 EXP. What I want to do now is I want to use rare candies to level him up to exactly 37. And I don't quite have enough, so I'm going to have to use the mail to dupe a few more. I could also use the fast clone, but I'm already here. I'm already duping him, so. All right, I've got 31 rare candies. I'm at level 7, so I'm going to give him exactly 30. All right, we finished giving him the rare candies. He's now level 37, and this is important because Ho-Oh has what's called a slow EXP growth curve. Pokemon with a slow EXP growth curve are useful for this exact reason because 63,316 is very close to a pretty special number. If I put 63,316 down here into my EXP tracker, you'll see we get 0024784, and that's 63,316. It reflects there on our spreadsheet. And then I'm going to take exactly 172 steps. This will get me to 63,488 EXP, which gives us a value of 00248, which is perfect. So you'll see when we corrupt back, that'll become a glitch move that's F800, and that's actually a stable glitch move that we can move around. I've already tested that. It's a very useful glitch move in that it's stable as both a move and an item. And it's very, very close to being either a max attack EV, speed EV, or special defense EV. So having this particular glitch item F800, is a great way to instantly train those stats. And those are otherwise kind of annoying to do because they don't line up with particular moves. But remember, I need to take exactly 172 steps. I need to get to precisely 63,488 EXP. So I'm going to save before I put him in the daycare, and then I'm going to count out 172 steps. 167, 168, 169, 170, 171, 172. And then we're going to pull him out. And then we should see that exact EXP number, 63,488. That's very important. There we go, 63,488. So I'm actually going to make a clone of this Ho-Oh right here because that value is going to be very useful for us when we move on to training anything that needs 252 speed, because 252 speed isn't a stable glitch species. It's not a stable glitch move, but 248 is, and making up 4 EVs really isn't that big of a deal. And so remember, it's white hand, hover, back up, pick up, swap, drop, pick up the blank Pokemon, and then every time you pick up and drop the blank Pokemon, it'll become a clone. And then once we back out of the boxes and back in, we have our clones. And then remember to get rid of this little glitch guy here. All right, so I've got my backups. I'm going to save at this point because I know I'm making progress. Then I'm going to remove this rare candy and then swap over to voices exclamation point, which will get us to GAEM. And now we've got ourselves a level 100 Pidgey with almost the exact EV spread that we need for Skarmory. So now we just need to figure out how to turn this Pidgey into our Skarmory. Skarmory shares an index number with Encore, which Pidgey doesn't learn, but thankfully Pidgey does learn Attract, and Attract shares an index number with Shuckle, who does learn Encore naturally. So I just need to teach Attract to my Pidgey. All right, cool. So Pidgey knows Attract, and then I'm just going to teach him a couple more moves so that he's a high enough level after we turn him into a Shuckle to be able to instantly learn Encore. Oh, I'm going to grab this Shell Bell real quick. That's a nice item. And then for the order of the moves, I went Attract, Feather Dance, Fly, Gust. Feather Dance will become a TM9 after I corrupt him, which, you know, that's free TM. Nothing wrong with that. And then we swap over to voices, ... And there's our Shuckle holding a TM9. Very cool. Now I just need to teach him Encore and delete the rest of these moves. All right, there's Encore. Yeah, there's my last deletion. And we want our Skarmory to be a careful nature, and the substructure order needs to be GAEM. So that's status Wonder Guard. Jeez, it's all the way at the bottom. There we go. Wonder Guard in every slot. And boom, there's our careful Skarmory, who's already got basically the EVs we need. There's a little bit of cleanup I can do because I only have 248 Spadef, but once again, that's like 2 battles, not a big deal. And then he's got some random moves, but all the moves Skarmory learns are basically TM, so that's pretty easy to patch up. All right, so as far as EVs and natures go, we've completed the defensive core of our team. Skarm, Blissey, Swampert, all Gen 3 OU classics. So now it's time to move on to our offensive core of the team. Tyranitar, Charizard, and of course Gengar. And if you notice, I was very tactical in my decision to use this team because if you look at the EVs on all 3 of these guys, they are 252 special attack and 252 speed. So that means once I've done the EV spread on one Pokemon, I've actually got the EVs done for all 3 of them because I can just clone them and then change the species. And of course, both Charizard and Tyranitar share Hidden Power Grass, which is the whole reason we went about this. Hidden Power Grass is also pretty good on Gengar as an additional coverage move, so you can swap that in and out if you want. But yeah, for this part of the process, we are going to be using Ho-Oh because we did all that setup before to get that 248 special defense EV that I said we could turn into a glitch move and then move around freely. So I've got our Ho-Oh here and he's only got Recover, so after I corrupt him, he's going to become a Marowak. And just like I said, our Marowak does have a glitch move, but that glitch move is stable. We can move it around as we please. It's totally safe to swap around into different places to either speed or attack because it lines up with that in the data structure. And I taught Marowak Rock Tomb so I can corrupt him back real quick and get an extra TM29, which is Psychic, because I used it in the setup for Ace because I taught my Mr. Mime Psychic so that he could kill things faster. So I needed another one. And Psychic also shares an index number with Gengar, which is one of our guys, so we kind of need it. So we do a quick swap back to Feelings Adore, grab my free Psychic TM, thank you very much. And then I'm just going to give him a regular old Pokeball, which has an index number of 4. Head back to Endings All. Now our Marowak knows Whirlpool, Comet Punch, and our glitch move that equals 248 EVs. And thankfully swapping this around so it lines up with special attack and speed is very easy. If I put Whirlpool in the 3rd slot, that'll equal 250 special attack. Put the glitch move into the 2nd slot, which gives us 248 speed, and then this Comet Punch will just be 4 HP, which is fine. And then we'll swap over to exclamation points, which is GAEM. And now our Marowak has no moves. He's level 0 and he has 4 HP EVs, 248 speed EVs, and 250 special attack EVs. So first I'm going to give Marowak an iron, and then I'm going to teach him strength because he has no moves. And then we're going to swap over to AGEM, and he should be a Weepin Bell that knows Recover and Drill Peck. And then we can swap Drill Peck into the first slot so that he becomes an Alakazam. And then I'm also going to teach him a couple moves so that he has some EXP so I can relearn some moves when I'm Alakazam. I went with Double Team and Cut, which should land our Alakazam around level 98, 99. So there we go, exclamation points, that'll be GAEM. And now we've got our Alakazam, and he is holding a glitch item because Recover happens to map to a glitch item. That's fine, it doesn't really matter. I can just replace that with some other move when I swap him back. But Alakazam is super useful because he learns Future Sight and Psychic, which just happened to line up with Tyranitar and Gengar. So we can get 2 of our Pokemon in one fell swoop here. This is actually a great chance to make use of that Durin Berry from earlier because this will become Sketch on our final Pokemon. And all 3 of these Pokemon have egg moves or a tutor move. So we're going to give him a Durin Berry right now, and I'll just throw out this Recover glitch item. And it actually makes more sense to just clone this Alakazam right now since I know that this can become 2 of my Pokemon. So same as before. Pick up the empty. 1, 2, get out of there. And these guys are coming with me. So this one's getting Future Sight, and we'll throw that into the first move slot. And then we taught this one Psychic, and we'll put that in the first move slot. And conveniently, both Gengar and Tyranitar want to have a hasty nature. And then we're going over to the AGEM order, which just so happens to be voices ... We don't even have to do anything crazy. It's already a hasty nature. Look at that. So there's voices ... Look at that. We've got a shiny hasty Gengar that already knows Sketch, so we can teach him Explosion in a double battle. Super useful. Then we just do the same thing with our clone. And voila, there's our hasty Tyranitar. Same deal. Drill Peck, Sketch, Double Team, Cut. And now all we have to do is Charizard. And funnily enough, even though Charmander is Comet Punch and Charizard is Payday, Charmeleon is Mega Punch, and I still have my Mega Punch tutor up, and fortunately enough, Alakazam actually learns it. So I can just use this right now to get my Charmeleon immediately without having to do any more swaps. The only thing I need to change for Charizard is that he's actually supposed to be timid instead of hasty, and so we're going to go to Speech Seriously. All right, there we go. We can commit that. And there's our level 0 Charmeleon. Timid nature. Beautiful stuff. So we've got all the base Pokemon. Some of them have Sketch. Some of them have some random moves. They're all level 0. But now we're into the final stretch. It's time to just clean everybody up and get them into fighting form. Look at that. Look at all of our beautiful Pokemon all named Flareon. Now, look, I said, I know. I said no more ace codes, but I'm not about to spam 99 rare candies on all these guys. And I actually forgot I got this code submitted to eShark's generator. This is the change level of party slot 6 code. This thing is cracked. We can actually use this to level all these guys to 99, and then we can do the rest of our cleanup from there. So let me just enter these box names real quick. There's box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, and box 5, and then the rest of them are all just dots. Now, of course, I am going to save just in case I made a typo. So the way this code works is super cool, right? So what I'm going to do first is put one of these guys into my 6th party slot, like Swampert here. And then I head over to the ace Pokemon, do my swap, no crash. That's a good sign. And then we'll back out. And you'll see he's level 98 now. Now, the weird thing about this is you'll see his HP is still 13. When Pokemon are in your party, the level and the experience are actually separate. So by just manually changing the level and then giving them a rare candy, it'll make this change permanent. If you didn't do that, when you put him back in the box, it would recalculate and then it would only be level 1 again or whatever. But if I just give this guy a rare candy, look at that. His stats went up by insane amounts and boom. He's level 99, just like that. So we can just repeat that for the rest of the team. Oh, Blissey about to gain crazy stats. Oh my God. Skarmory, eat that baby up. Oh yeah. Gengar, looking good, looking good. Oh, 353 special attack, my man. Tyranitar gaining big stats. And last but not least, of course, is Charmeleon, who's gonna elevate up to level 99 and then evolve into our beautiful Charizard. Look at that majestic creature. Can you believe that an hour ago, all we had was an Eevee? And there we go. The full team is at level 99, just one rare candy away from level 100. I went to level 99 because I do need to gain a couple of EVs, fix up a couple of things because, you know, I can't get to the exact values that I want every time because, you know, some glitch moves aren't stable and things like that, but we are demonically close. This is about the fastest you could ever make a 6 Pokemon competitive team. Skarmory is by far the easiest. I just need to knock out 4 of these Tentacool to make up for the 4 special defense EVs I was missing. Spikes is a learn set move. And then Toxic, Roar, and Protect were all just TMs, so Skarmory's moves are good to go. And then just give it one Carbos to give it some speed EVs. Blissey is similarly easy. Softballed can just be relearned at the move tutor. And then Toxic, Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt are all TMs. For Swampert, I had to use Sketch on my own Blastoise to get Hydro Pump because I kind of forgot that only Mudkip learns Hydro Pump. Fun fact. Thankfully, Earthquake and Protector just relearn moves, so that's super easy. One Ice Beam TM later, and Swampert is good to go. For Gengar, I kind of had to get creative because Explosion is not the easiest move in the world to sketch. So I corrupted him back over to exclamation points real quick, and then gave him a Pomeg Berry. And it's back to ... And voila, now he knows Explosion. Easy peasy. These three all still needed 4 speed EVs and 2 special attack EVs, so I gave them each an EXP share. Knocked out 4 Diglets because EXP share does spread EVs, in case you didn't know, super useful. And then Ghastly and Pokemon Tower was an easy source of 2 special attack EVs. Now that I'm done EV training the special attackers, it's time to sketch their remaining moves, and first up is the Elemental Punches onto Gengar. Conveniently, Hitmonchan was level 25 when you receive it, and it learns all the Elemental Punches at level 26, so that was pretty nice. And my Gengar just put himself to sleep because I don't have all 8 badges yet. So he's level 99 and he won't listen to me. Fun fact, did you know Sneasel is the only Pokemon that naturally learns Beat Up in Gen 3? And this Charizard runs Beat Up as an egg move, so I need to sketch that. Please listen. No. Yay, he listened. Good boy. Charizard's last move is Dragon Claw, which is just another TM, no big deal. And last but certainly not least is Tyranitar, who can just pick up Rock Slide from the move tutor. Fire Blast is of course a TM, and Hidden Power is also a TM. So everyone's moves are finished. Look at that. Ah, man, feels good to be done. Except they're all named Flareon. So I guess we got to give them some nicknames. And the nicknaming code is really easy and simple. I covered it in my last video. It's called Run Script via NPC. And then what you're going to do is you're going to grab the number from this table here corresponding to which game and version you're on. I'm on LG 1.1. And then I want to use name box 1 slot 1 mon. I want to use this code. Paste that in there, hit compute. And then we'll just enter these box names real quick. And then of course we save the game. But then the way it should work is after you activate the ACE code, which of course is just our typical pick up, swap, drop. All right, it didn't crash. So now when I talk to this guy, it should just immediately ask me to nickname a Pokemon. And yeah, it just does whoever's in box 1 slot 1. So in honor of the creator of this fantastic team, I've decided to give them all nicknames relating to famous members of the Horse Council, folks. We all know about the Horse Council. We love it. Tyranitar is of course Bojack, because it is a dark comedy. Blissey will be representing the famous My Little Pony franchise. Ponies are in fact horses too. This is Pinkie Pie. And of course, Swampert could be none other than the great Sea Biscuit, because he is of the sea. Gengar will be named after Shadowfax of Lord of the Rings fame, because he is a shadowy fellow. Charizard will be named after Pegasus, because he can fly. And of course, for Skarmory, who could forget the most legendary horse of all, the Trojan horse, because it's mechanical. Yeah, see, it makes sense. I'm a thinker here, you know, there's thought behind these bad boys. And there it is. Gym Cool Big 5 Zard, recreated. Egg moves, hidden power, IVs, EVs, the whole shebang, all in one video. Well, was it a short video? No, but was it a useful video? A comprehensive video? I tend to think so. Oh, I just realized I forgot to use PP maxes. Oh my god, I have to use 24 PP maxes. Okay, good. I've been duping them this whole time, and it turns out I have 26, so this shouldn't be that bad. Okay, now, behold, the full team is complete. They've all got PP maxes on all of their moves. Their moves are all good. Their EVs are good. Their IVs are good. This is a complete Big 5 Zard OU team. There's only one problem. They are all illegal. Actually, I know exactly why they're illegal. It's because they all have contest stats, but they don't have any Sheen. In order to get Sheen, you have to give them Poke Blocks, and there are no Poke Blocks in FireRed. So they won't be 100% legal until I give them Poke Blocks, but you know, I plan on trading them over to Emerald anyway. Emerald's my main game. So I just have to be sure to feed them all a couple Poke Blocks once they get there, and they will be legal. Like I can just put like 30 in here and then boom, it's legal. And then did I F up the EV training at all? Let's see. HP 252, 253, that's fine. 4, 252, 253, that's fine. 4, 252, 254, that's all good. 252 is the maximum, and then you have 2 extra EVs. 248, 216, 46, that's all good. 254, 252, 252, all good. And then 250, 2528, that is good. Kind of annoying that I have to trade them all over to Emerald to fix this. I'm not just gonna fix it here in PKX. That kind of defeats the point, but you know, at least I know how to fix it. I kind of knew this was coming. You have to be very careful to not wind up with contest stats. The reason why is because at the bottom of the attack substructure here, you can see that that lines up with the contest stats: cute, smart, tough, and feel. The PP of the moves becomes contest stats when you use glitch moves to populate EVs. And there's really no way around that because PP automatically fills up when you drop something into the box. So you can do everything except for fix their contest stats, because unfortunately FireRed and LeafGreen do not have contests, do not have Pokeblocks. But small price to pay for the insane amount of power that you get from this glitch. And that's it. I've finally made it to the end. I always record my outros after doing all the editing because I like to come from a place of genuine relief and gratitude. And so I'd like to say thank you to all of my members and subscribers and everybody who's supported me up until this point. I know content from me is scarce at best lately, but as you can see, I've clearly been busy. I hope a bunch of you try this out for yourselves. It really is a blast to mess around with. All the links to the tools and the spreadsheet and all that stuff will be down in the description. Thank you to Merp and Lucky Typhlosion and Sleipnir and Shao and Lincoln and eShark and everybody who works in the glitch community to help make these things possible. If you're wondering where do we possibly go from here, well, I only covered how to do egg-based Pokemon in this video. Things like legendaries, Pokemon that are not breedable, event Pokemon like Celebi and Jirachi and stuff like that. Those require a little bit more work, and maybe there's a more in-depth video coming in the future for those guys. But for now, please, if you enjoyed this video, like it, share it, subscribe, click the bell, post it on Twitter, Blue Sky, Reddit, Discord, send it to your friends, send it to your mom. I worked very hard on this video, and if you made it all the way to the end, then you are literally changing my life. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Adios.